I've just pressed that record button, Zuzia, to kind of introduce you and thank you for having agreeing to have a chat with me, really. And a part of this process is just to get an understanding of what's happened to you and how you feel you've got to this point and how you've maybe helped yourself, if you feel you have, to get where you are, to be happy to share what's happened. So tell me a little bit about your story.
Yeah, well, I started having lower back pain like when I was 20 years old, so something like 21 years ago. And then, it would be just like bang suddenly because I bended down or something. Nothing, no big accidents or anything really bad. And then I'm bed stuck for a few days, and this started happening pretty regularly. So for the last like 20 years, it was on off. It could happen 3 times during the same month, or once every 2 months if I was lucky. Well, I'm my profession is dog training, and I'm a self-employed, so I don't have insurance, vacation paid, or sick leave or something like that. So it was kind of hard. Like, you never know if next week I can work or not, or bang, suddenly. So I eventually got to the point where I was working for basically paying my osteopathy treatments that would keep me like kind of faster mobile, and with some kind of quality of life and being able to function, and then bang again, and then osteopathy again. And it went like that for 20 years. And so I tried chiropractors, acupuncture, osteopaths, whatever. I had some scans and stuff, so it showed like bulging disc, this, that, but nobody really knew anything what to do with that. And then my osteopath, who almost, I think, went into depression at some point, not being able to treat me. She thought she was not a good osteopath, which she was great. Like, she was the best from all which ones were treating me. But somebody borrowed her John Sarno's book, and she didn't have time to read it then, but she said, hey, do you want to read that over Christmas or something and bring it back like, next week or in 10 days when we see each other again, because I had like this appointments almost every week with her. And I read it and I was like, wait a second, this makes way too much sense. Like, really too much sense. So that was in the December, just before the start of the pandemic. And also I had a dog then that had lots of pain, and from anyways, other story, it was a rescue who was at the end of his life with pain. And my husband had a hernia in his lower back, and he was waiting for a surgery. So there was lots of like pain stories around. But also it was like, wait a second, my husband, he's like in pain all the time, exactly the same, and I'm not. So maybe there's hope. Maybe my thing is not like that physical. Maybe this book like makes sense for me. So something started to be there. Then just before the pandemic, we got a call for my husband for surgery, and he got better after. And we're really lucky, because if he would be just a bit later, he would never got the surgery and probably lose the function of his leg. So his was like super physical, like very clear thing, and mine was contrast. I think it really helped me to believe that mine was maybe not that physical, since it varied a lot and it was different. And then the pandemic started. We lost our dog also just before his surgery. It was a lot of things during that winter to 2020, lots of stress, and I started to block like in my back even more than before, starting I think in April or May of 2020. I think like after this really hard winter and all the doubts in my head, it went blah. So I would block like all the time. It was a long time. And also I could not see my osteopath because of all the restrictions, sanitary restrictions. She was closed for a while. She wasn't allowed to practice. It went good for like 2-3 months, and then I started blocking. After my first vaccine for the COVID, I blocked like I haven't blocked for years, like really, really bad. I was basically fainting with pain if I stood up. But then it went away after a few days a week. And by then I started really researching from John Sarno's book, like, and I found everything that's like today, the continuation of that. So I found forums and podcasts and all that. So I was bedridden for a while. So that was great. I could just really read about it. And then I was really sure, yeah, this thing can help me. It really talks to me a lot. And since I was like in pain for 21 years, and I know I have like lots of anxiety, and my life was like, you know, immigration from Poland to Canada, we were fleeing like communist times, and we didn't have papers the first year. And there were lots of things that kept me in, since very small, in alert state for my brain, for sure. So basically at like, 41 years old, I was like, I don't think my brain knows what it is to feel safe at all. Because when I started to actually feel a bit safer when I met my husband 10 years ago, I think I had like a few months of, like I'll eat tomorrow. I can pay, if I cannot pay my bills because my back pain is too much, my husband can help me. So suddenly, like, it got easier. And then I got diabetes, autoimmune diabetes. So that was like a new danger, a real one. Yeah, I realized I have no idea how to feel reassured and secure. And now I have this autoimmune diabetes with the pandemic going on. I lost a few people that have diabetes like me to the virus. Was like, okay, how possibly can I feel safe now in my body? So I decided to go with my little finances and actually pay a therapist over Zoom from the Pain Psychology Center of Alan Gordon. Like, okay, I need a brain trainer. Basically, I'm a dog trainer. I understand a lot of the things, but now I need a professional brain trainer, please, to help me with that. So he really helped me. And also I found in the UK, also over Zoom, is the spinal recovery program, I think, movement studio, is Samuel Clark and Rob, I forgot his name, that got me also helped the part of, well, they understood all the mindset about it and the stress and all that, but also just how to feel safer to move again, because of course after 21 years of pain I was always like guarding, I shouldn't move like that, should I move like, I was afraid to move in many different places. And of course if I go to normal physios and osteopaths, if they don't understand the mind part, it wasn't working well. So now it was great to have the people that actually, yes, know the body, but also understand where it all comes from. So from May to August, I was 2020, I was like blocking my back all the time. I think it was like a reaction, but like the first time it would take 10 weeks before I really feel okay, 10 days, I mean, before I really feel okay. Then it took a week, then it took 3-4 days, then it would take 1 day. And eventually I was like, it just took me half an hour and I'm not blocked anymore. So I could feel the flare-ups and just breathe, remind me everything, I can still move. And within half an hour or something, I would be, I'm fine again. And it was summer also, so I was lots of road tripping. I like to sleep in my car, see the whales. In Canada here you have great places for that. So also packing in the car and bending, and we also had a new puppy in June. So the first week, sometimes I was blocked and couldn't walk him, so somebody else had to do it. But it was a lot of new bending down and lots of new movement. And I would say, and sometimes I would use anti-inflammatory, which I did not use for like 20 years. I was really hard on myself. I was using nothing. I also didn't have a doctor, so that didn't help. Nobody was there to prescribe them. So that helped me like just ease the pain and the fear around it when it happened, the flare-ups. And I remember since September 30, I don't have flare-ups of back pain anymore at all. I did lots of road trips and, new movements with my dog and my back is doing great. Just recently in February, when the Ukraine war started, well, I'm Polish, it's very close to home. So of course I could feel lots of anxiety and all that. And I could feel my back like trying to hurt, but it didn't go there. I think it got retrained. I was like, wow, this was a real thing. So I would say my lower back pain is cured. However, my brain invented something new. It was going too well. So from end of September, I was like in paradise until end of November. And then I got ear crystals that moved. So, the positional vertigo, I got diagnosed with that. So, okay, I did the whatever maneuvers of putting it back in place. It worked. I saw a doctor. Yeah, it's fine. It was just that. And 2 days later, I start to be dizzy and not very coordinated, but it wasn't the same as the big vertigo. It felt more like it's inside me and not everything spinning. So finally, I saw a physio that knows about the vertigo things, and he said, no, your crystals are back, but now, how did he say that? Your brain anticipates it's going to get dizzy, so it kind of compensates, so it gets you dizzy because you're not getting dizzy for real. Like, oh yes, that's totally my brain can do that. Yes, I can believe that. So I had some exercises of coordination, of my ears and legs and my eyes, because I was stuck in this chronic dizziness, and nobody really knows why those ear crystals suddenly moved, because I did not have like accident or any strange movements. Basically one morning I wake up, but then I remember, wait a second, the evening just before I woke up with the ear crystals, I learned through email that a colleague of mine had a big car accident, and her neck, they were afraid for her neck. She was fine finally, but I got lots of emotions when I got it for her also. And I remember it really reminded me my car accident that was like in 94. I was 14. Actually, it was a really long time ago. My neck is fine since all those years. But I just had a big whiplash in this accident, and my neck hurted for 2 weeks. That's it. When I saw a chiropractor in my early 20s, like when the start of my back pain, he said, oh, your neck is crooked the other way, probably because of that, but supposedly he fixed it. And for all those years, I did not have dizziness and ear problems. So it's like if I feel like my brain was like, okay, this is not normal. Everything is going good. Aha, car accident, neck, remember there? Let's do something there. So I have no idea right now, but I suspect that instead of sending all the tension in my lower back, who's now super well trained to be okay, it went maybe more in my neck and maybe behind the ear, which doesn't hurt my neck, but yeah, it's tense if I feel it. So maybe all my stress go there now, and it could actually irritate, something around the ear, which actually causes for real a crystal to move, because now it's so spasmic. So my physio doesn't really know, but he was like, maybe that's something possible, because then I was getting better. And with a month ago, so for sure, after a week of the stress with the Ukrainian war, I wake up one morning and there we go again. The crystals move again for, again, no physical reason I could see. So I'm trying now to really approach this dizziness thing, the same thing as if would be spasmic, my lower back, and now it's my neck, which I find it harder to do, because if my lower back gets spasm, I feel it right away. As of my neck, I feel it later because I get dizzy. So, but I have better days and worse days. So if I get better days and worse days, it cannot really be a neck injury. And where did I get injured? Anyways, so yeah, that's where I'm at. But I'm not complaining. It's 100% better to be dizzy than the back pain. I can kind of function, and sometimes it's getting dizzy, but it's much better. So that's where I am at now.
Well, it's an amazing story, and it really starts with curiosity. if you go back to where you started to see a gap, maybe serendipity, where you just happened to be given a book and you maybe didn't have the option to refer back to your normal routine treatment because of the Christmas period or for lockdown, you had some time to maybe study the podcasts, but it only occurs because you actually filled those voids, if you like, with a different behavior through curiosity.
And despair.
Well, it starts with despair, doesn't it? It starts with despair.
Yeah,
but despair actually is a protective moment that, once you've been in despair for a little while, it is transient. It is very unpleasant, but it is transient. As it passes, then, and you can't access the other treatments, or you're in pain, so you can't do anything. So you start to explore the idea. And those small gaps that appeared for you, really, you've explored them and then started to question, well, actually, if this is an experience that I'm believing is structural, that doesn't really fit how I have this kind of understanding. And it's fascinating to hear you say, Drew, it was 10 days, my spasm, then it was 8, then it was a week, then it was 3 days, then it was half an hour.
Magic. Yeah. It was really magic. I could just stop them then. Like, wow.
Yeah. So did you have a recipe for yourself as you experienced the spasm? Because you obviously stopped your habitual reactions. What did you do?
Well, I think just knowing and really having had enough proof finally that it's not something structural, and that sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not, and it's definitely depending on stress. I was lucky because, I have been observing those things since I work in behavior. It could be dog behavior, but it's still behavior. I'm used to observe, when is it together with it. So for years I have been observing. So I do remember, I know 15 years ago at some point being at the computer, all is fine with my back, reading an email with bad news. So of course I knew already, but I just thought, stress can get some injury worse, And of course, my mom and her mom used to have lower back pain. So now I think it's really learned. And I can see also in my mom, no, you don't really have an injury there. It's the same thing. But at that point, I just thought it was something genetic. When I started to really read the things, there were so many elements that worked for me. I was very happy because even before I started to see some progress, that was when a doctor, a regular family doctor who has no idea what to do with back pain, read my scan and went, "Oh my God, you can paralyze anytime. Don't lift anything," or something like that, which usually would scare me horribly. And now I was like, okay, she's just trying to be nice, but it's okay. So I was so happy the timing of events, because she could send me back in 10 years with that fearful thing. But yeah, I was lucky. I had lots of things that fitted perfectly.
And that reinforcement of someone else's experience almost gives you a reassurance that actually that if they've recovered from changing the way they think and react and behave, and then you can too. So it does give kind of a little inspiration, doesn't it? And what you're describing there that's quite interesting is that you're changing your own reactions to your own presentation, if you like. I feel pain. Actually, I'm okay in this moment.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
So you've
just
learned.
understanding, okay, my brain got afraid, all is good, it's just fear. And of course, I have no idea how to reassure myself. So yeah, I have fear all over the place. Just this was, of course, very reassuring. I think also the part to permit myself to take anti-inflammatories when I was in a flare-up also teach my brain, it's okay, you can just rest, and somebody else will take care of the puppy and whatever is going to be taken care of, and it will actually hurt you less, and you'll get better faster, which definitely was the case. And I remember a few times where I just took them because I was too afraid to flare up. I was like, yeah, I can do that. It's a form of reassurance, and eventually didn't need it anymore. So that was really really a good help to not because I've read on the forums and all that, sometimes people be like, no medication or something like that. I think it depends. It's just like self-compassion and getting a bit nicer to yourself.
You're absolutely right. It's symbolic of attending to yourself. And as long as the intent behind it is almost, I know I'm doing this, and there's other strategies I can use that maybe a bit more healthy and it'll be a better longer term outcome. But I know a pharmacological effect of this particular pill is going to be something that helps me feel like I'm attending to myself.
And sometimes I wouldn't hurt much yet, but I was like, no, I am unable to get past my fear. So if I let it go, I'll just take one. And of course, I didn't take so many that would make stomach problems or anything like that. So it wasn't problematic at all. It was just really simple anti-inflammatories. It wasn't something like, opioids when people get like much bigger medication. But it was very relieving to be like, well, at worst, I'll cheat. And just having that after, like, in my backpack, just in case, it helped to have the reassurance down. And
so when you were responding in a really healthy way with you'll have probably did a selection of things, intellectualize what's happening, make yourself safe in with the place as you're in, or a breathing technique, or whatever you chose to do. And so that's really a really important part of recovery. But what you described there earlier that was really nice is when the doctor, somebody who has authority over you and in terms of medical hierarchy, says, ooh, that bad MRI scan, in the place on presence of someone else's fear directed at your fear system, you actually kind of process that in a really healthy way. You allowed them to say what they were saying, but you didn't allow it to actually, you didn't internalize it.
It was nice that I read enough about it to be able to do that, because just 2 months before that I would be dead of fear. I don't know if she would say that, but then I was just able to to see she cared. It was a very warm and nice way she said it also. It wasn't in a cold clinical thing. So I was like, oh, she cares. She's very nice, but I understand she doesn't know it. And I mean, she admitted she has no idea what to do with back pain. So that helped too. But having the knowledge before was great. It was really, really good,
Because there's lots of strong personalities in our lives who really don't understand the mechanisms of recovery that you've already accessed. Parents, siblings, friends, doctors, physios.
Really? Mother with same problems, but that doesn't want to hear about it. Okay, that's hard, but
and you just have to, I think you really do have to accept in some situations. Well, we all tread our own path, don't we?
Yes, that's it. That's a hard to accept when you would like to help somebody, but the person's not there, and you cannot help them, in spite of them. So,
and when somebody, and I get this as a clinician, you recognize somebody's pain and you think you'd like to help them with it, and then often the frustration you feel, you might feel, or I might feel, to want to tell someone is classed as, that's painful, isn't it? That's frustrations of pain. And then you think, well, there's two people in pain. So you might as well really let go of your own, or I'll let go of mine, because otherwise there's two people.
Respect the whatever boundaries and stuff.
And that seed planting is often the best thing to do. Leave the book on the table, plant a seed, show them how you've recovered. Men do things that they think, well, didn't you have a bad back? I thought you had a bad back.
My mom is trying to remind me all the time I should watch out for my back. Okay. So
and that's often hardest. One of the hardest part is regulating your nervous system in the presence of the life that you've built up around you.
But
That's
at
what's
least
always
I
been
can
normal.
live with my mother, so I can be like ready for it when I see her, and get rest after. And my husband is very happy about my thing and tries to encourage me and all that. So that's great. And he's been a bit inspired about he's much less stressed person than me, but after his surgery, it really helped. Like many surgeries doesn't help, him really helped. Like it was really squeezing for real his back leg. But during the recovery, it was great because actually he was recovering from his surgery well, but without any physio anything, because everything was closed. So basically it was over the phone. Are you okay? Your leg is fine. Great. That's all he had as post surgery. So it was a bit scary, but since I was reading about all that, it helped him also, I think, gain confidence, and he would try the same little movements I would do when I was back in back pain and all that. So he's doing much better today too. So that's great. We're both like, at least in our house, it's healthy.
Yeah, that's really good. And I was fascinated to hear that once you get to the point of understanding intellectually and you start applying kind of mind games, maybe mind and body games, that's a big part of the story. And sometimes it's all that's needed for some people. But then you've got these conditioned responses to movements that you then worked on. And that's fascinating because they're really changes that are amazing to see in clinic when you see someone's fear. And I do an experiment where I get someone to close their eyes and redo the movement in the head. And it triggers.
I'm sure you can get the.
it can trigger the pain. It triggers the pain, and they'll open the eyes and say, "How is that?" And I say, "Well, you've it's been so predictable so many times that you don't have to look to see where the gear changes in the car or there's automatic things." So now that we can predict it, we can change the prediction. And so how did you go about that? Were you shown movements? Were you reassured with movements?
Yes, it was, it was just very safe to have, yes, a chiropractor, whatever they are exactly, but that understands exactly this. And I could send him my scan and he would be like, yeah, you can still heal. Okay, phew, I have like this approval with that scan. I can still heal from somebody that also knows the physical things, because my therapist from the Pain Psychology Center, well, he's not, he's a brain therapist, not the mechanical part. So that was very reassuring. And then, yes, there was a series of exercises and how they do it, but also, all not just how you move, but how to make sure you actually move more softly and not like this trying to do the exercises. So all these explanations, and they do a bit of personal coaching when you need it. So the first few times when I would flare up, I was like, help, on the messenger, and they would call me as soon as possible with the time difference, and would coach me over like, okay, you cannot move like that, it hurts now, so try this little thing. And it would just feel very, very safe that somebody's telling me how to do it, but who really understands everything about it, not just thinking there's a real injury or something. So that really helped. And of course, at some point I was like, okay, last time he told me to do that, I'll try this again. and I kind of relearned to move, definitely. And all the conditioning of the brain, as you say, that's fascinating. And for me, I mean, I work with that with animals, they have fears that are associated and all that. So I really understand those things. So now it was just fascinating looking at me with my reactions, my husband. So for example, the other day we were going away and he had to load all the luggage in the car. And he was like, oh, I have a bit of back pain before loading the car. And then we started laughing about it. Like, okay, your brain is anticipating, like, he's not allowed to hurt yet. You didn't load it yet. You're just thinking about you have to do it, and it got tense. So it was pretty funny, and he got over it, and there was no flare-ups. But I was so from the last summer, all into winter, I was going like, okay, now I'm going to go without my husband, with a friend to a cottage with the dogs. So I won't have so much help, and I'll have to do this and that. I think I can do it. So I would start to anticipate what are the stuff that my brain will anticipate might be dangerous. So kind of visualizing for it and preparing. the last one was like, okay, winter boots, winter boots are heavy. So for the last, I don't know how many winters, it was always hurting my back more in winter because, well, you're tense. And of course, once you're tense, like the heavy boots are like pulling some tension there. So that was like my last test of conditioning. And the boots really don't mind me. Usually at this time of the year, where there are some days here we cannot put boots in the city, I can actually put like normal shoes, and some days it's better boots. I usually cannot wait to put the shoes on. I'm like, oh, it's light. And now actually the first spring, for so many times, I'm like, oh yeah, I could put my shoes for the last 3 days. And I didn't think about it because my boots don't bother me anymore. So I was anticipating, I was trying to go, I'm always anticipating anyways in my anxious brain. So I might as well do it in a planned and positive way where, okay, I think my next step will be that, let's do this, and I would visualize a good outing, and it worked. So, not always super perfectly. Sometimes I would get too afraid and I would take anti-inflammatory just in case, and then it would continue well. But yeah, so by end of September, finally, starting end of September, all my tests were good. the condition.
It's a remarkable transformation. Did you think, if someone said a few years ago that you could be at this point now, would you thought it would be unbelievable?
I was always hoping for it. I just had no idea how to get it. And I would just be saying, okay, but I hope it's not a surgery because I'm that scary of any surgery. So I didn't have any in my life. But, so I was like, oh no, I'm not sure if somebody would say, oh, I can make a surgery and you'll be fine after. I would go for it. So I was so happy there was another way, basically. But I think I always I'm a very optimistic person. So in order to not go in deep depression or something, I was like, no, one day I'll be good. I have no idea how, but one day I'll be good. And I would visualize myself like, when I'm 70, I'll be more in shape than when I'm 30. that was my saying. So now I think it's going to be true.
Well, that is a really powerful visualization. And I think what you've applied to how you've recovered from your back, I think if you apply the same thing to anything else that pops up, because things will pop up, even the dizziness, or even how you control your diabetes and your responses to that.
That goes well because I understand it. I know exactly, what to do. So my diabetes is like super well controlled, and yeah, that part's fine because it's not like something I can understand and plan. And anyways, I know what to do.
Yeah, that sense of control.
Really, really well, So, but yeah, it's when I know what to do about it, basically, it all changes. Because of course I'm a perfectionist, so my diabetes is like because I know what to do.
So now, do you have you shared your story elsewhere to help other people? Because obviously you're sharing it in this group, and it's fascinating here. I'm sure it'll help people to listen to you because you're very articulate in describing where you were, where you've got to, maybe some issues that you're still working on, but you have such a positive and bright approach. It's you can't see it not working for you.
Oh no, for sure it works. Yeah, for sure it has to work. But yeah, I wrote it a few times in some Facebook groups or something, but no, I haven't been recorded to say it.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Before I let you go, Zuzia, I'm really interested on the behavioural science approach. I know watch a program in the UK where there's a dog trainer, mm-hmm. and people present problems, and this guy comes in and absolutely troubleshoots the issue really quickly. And I think a lot of the techniques he uses are very similar to...
If he's an up-to-date trainer, should be, it should be exactly the same thing. I mean, with that, just dog training, it's really not regulated. So there's still lots of people making lots of money, just, hitting the dog and making him scared until he doesn't react and they say he's solved. So that's horrible. And you see that on TV. So you just have to watch out if you have a dog, like that's not real dog training, but the ones that do understand behavior science and all that, it's all associations and conditioning and all that. And I mean, animals just want to get out of nobody likes to feel fear, but of course it's hard to to explain it to a dog, you have to actually show it by little graduation things. And yeah, when it's really the same thing. So I think that gave me advantage also to understand the techniques and the conditioning, because I understand perfectly what you're talking about. And it was really fascinating to be like, oh, now I'm training my brain. I have trained dogs and cats and horses and fish and mice and rabbits and, you name it. But that was the first time I was training my own brain. So that was really good.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. Well, I'm very grateful for you offering me your time. What time is it now in Canada?
It's 1:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah. Oh, well, we're just coming to early evening here, and we might get an hour or two. I might go for a little. I'm going to go and watch my son play football training and maybe have a little walk. It's a lovely evening here. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, Zuzia.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for giving us your time.
Thank you for your nice work of generously sharing things. It's always very good, positive.
Well, I hope you enjoy the group and the content, and I'm grateful for you sharing your experience with us, and I hope to stay in touch.
Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.